In the heart of Beijing, where the city's pulse slowed within the walled majesty of the Forbidden City, time itself seemed suspended. The biting hush of winter blanketed the palace grounds. Snow clung to carved eaves and silk banners fluttered softly in the crisp morning air. Behind towering vermilion walls and layers of embroidered brocade, a different world existed, one untouched by the common world's dust and noise. A world governed not only by emperors, but by ritual, grace, and the delicate interplay of nature and power. There, in a hall scented faintly with sandalwood and stillness, the Son of Heaven sat cross-legged upon a golden dais, his robe heavy with embroidered dragons that shimmered with every breath. In his hand, he cradled a bowl, not just any vessel, but one made of the finest porcelain, so thin it nearly trembled in the cold. And within that bowl rested a marvel, a mound of shaved ice, glistening like freshly fallen snow under moonlight. Threads of rose syrup ran through it like rivers of ruby, their fragrance perfuming the air with a sweetness that defied the season. Atop this miniature mountain lay delicate slivers of candied lotus, each petal a testament to imperial refinement and the kitchen's almost divine precision. The year was 1742. The Qianlong Emperor ruled over a flourishing dynasty with elegance and intellect. Yet even as armies expanded borders and scholars filled libraries, the moment was simple, the savoring of an icy dish that should not have existed. For there were no refrigerators, no electric chillers, no machines humming behind palace walls. Only the ancient wisdom of ice houses, the tireless labor of winter servants, and an empire's dedication to transforming perishable snow into imperial poetry. Because in Qing China, luxury wasn't just about gold or silk. Sometimes, luxury melted on the tongue. Long before the glow of electric bulbs illuminated the corners of our kitchens. Long before the comforting hum of freezers became a background soundtrack to modern life, ice was not a convenience. It was a miracle. And yet, in the imperial courts of the Qing Dynasty, centuries before refrigeration was ever dreamed of, ice wasn't just a rare treat. It was a symbol of dominion. A summertime indulgence so opulent, so improbable, that it shimmered like a dream beneath the searing gaze of the summer sun. Picture this, a nation sprawling from the frozen steppes of Manchuria to the humid rice paddies of the south, where summer bore down with relentless intensity. In towns and villages, people fanned themselves and sought shade beneath trees. But behind the red walls of the Forbidden City, where the emperor ruled with the weight of heaven's mandate, icy delicacies graced the table as though nature itself had bowed in submission. How did they do it? How could a pre-industrial society, one without modern insulation, without compressors, without even a basic understanding of thermodynamics, achieve the impossible? The answer lies in a story of human ingenuity, imperial ambition, and a breathtakingly complex system of seasonal rituals, architectural innovation, and logistical mastery. Because for the Qing emperors, ice wasn't just about cooling the body. It was about projecting power. If the emperor could summon winter in the dead of summer, what couldn't he command? This is the chilling secret at the heart of Qing Dynasty cuisine. How ice, ephemeral, fragile, and fleeting, was captured, preserved, and transformed into edible art, centuries before the first refrigerator ever clicked to life. This isn't merely the tale of a sweet dish savored on a hot day. No, it runs far deeper than that. This is a story woven into the fabric of imperial ambition and cultural identity. It's a testament to a time when dessert wasn't just the end of a meal, it was the embodiment of empire. Because every scoop of ice that made its way to the emperor's lips was more than refreshment. It was a carefully crafted illusion, one that said, "We have mastered nature." It spoke of power so absolute, so divine, that even the seasons could be tamed. That in the blistering heart of summer, winter could be summoned with a flick of the imperial wrist. It's about ingenuity, the kind that moved mountains of ice from riverbeds to underground cellars and kept them preserved for months without a single wire or watt. It's about architectural brilliance and seasonal labor, about calendars built not just to track time, but to orchestrate ice. And above all, it's about elegance. Every icy dish served in the Qing court carried layers of symbolism, the cooling nature of yin, the purity of snow, the transience of beauty. Each bowl was a message written in frost, a celebration of refinement, of harmony, of imperial grace. So no, this isn't just about dessert. It's about a civilization's relentless pursuit of perfection, served cold. Step through the towering red gates of the Forbidden City, and you're not merely entering a palace, you're crossing into an alternate reality. This was no ordinary royal residence. It was a self-contained universe of ritual, hierarchy, and celestial authority, designed to reflect not just the might of the emperor, but the very order of the cosmos itself. Here, every stone was laid with intention. Every corridor, every courtyard, echoed with silent discipline. And in this meticulously curated world, ice, ephemeral, fleeting, seemingly uncontrollable, became a tool of imperial theater. Because in the Forbidden City, ice wasn't just about cooling the emperor's tea or crafting a summer dessert. It was prestige, carved and harvested with the same reverence reserved for jade or silk. Ice was nature's most unpredictable element, yet the emperor made it bow to his will. Or, at the very least, made it appear so. Each winter, when the rivers outside Beijing froze solid, a remarkable operation unfolded. Teams of laborers, wrapped in layers of fur, straw, and wool to fight off the cutting northern wind, marched out onto the ice. With iron saws and practiced rhythm, they sliced the frozen surface into massive blocks, each shimmering like translucent stone under the pale sun. These workers were part of an ancient rhythm, one that synchronized man, season, and empire. Ice was cut with precision, hoisted onto wooden sleds and loaded into carts drawn by oxen whose breath steamed in the frigid air. It was a back-breaking process, but a sacred one. Because this wasn't just ice for drinking or preserving food. This was imperial ice, destined to rest beneath palatial floors and within the deepest vaults of the emperor's secret stores. It was winter's gift, carved, carted, and carefully guarded, all to ensure that when summer returned, the emperor could defy it with a spoon. Once cut from the river and carted back to the city, the ice blocks didn't simply melt into memory. They were carefully entombed within colossal underground structures known as binku. These imperial ice houses were masterpieces of pre-modern engineering, hidden beneath unassuming rooftops and buried in the silence of palace gardens or secluded compounds near the Forbidden City. Thick-walled and fortress-like, each binku was built from layers of dense stone and clay, designed to resist not only the heat of summer but the passage of time itself. Inside, every block of ice was meticulously stacked with gaps for airflow and layered with sawdust and straw, nature's earliest insulators. These seemingly simple materials formed a barrier that could stave off melting for months, even under the weight of Beijing's blistering summer heat. To modern eyes, it seems almost impossible, magical, even, that without electricity or mechanical cooling, the Qing Dynasty could preserve ice from one season into the next. But such was the brilliance of ancient Chinese ingenuity, where architectural precision met natural science long before either were formalized disciplines. And the scale? Absolutely staggering. The largest of these imperial ice cellars could hold as many as 30,000 blocks of ice, a shimmering frozen treasury hidden beneath the earth. This reservoir wasn't just about survival or storage. It was about display. A way to ensure the emperor could summon bowls of baobing, delicate mounds of shaved ice crowned with syrups, rose petals, preserved fruits, and at times, flakes of edible gold whenever the desire struck. Because in a world ruled by symbolism, even dessert had to dazzle. And nothing spoke of divine power like ice that refused to melt. But make no mistake, this wasn't simply a way to cool off during the summer. In the imperial court, icy dishes transcended refreshment. They were symbols of status, sophistication, and the emperor's absolute command over both the material and the metaphysical. To serve a frozen dessert in a time and place without modern refrigeration was not just impressive, it was political theater. And no one understood the art of spectacle better than the Qianlong emperor. A ruler as much defined by his poetry and calligraphy as by his governance, Qianlong cultivated an image of cultured divinity. His court was a stage, and his banquets were masterpieces of aesthetic and philosophical design. At these lavish feasts, chilled dishes appeared not as afterthoughts but as centerpieces of the culinary experience. Crystal-clear fruit soups, glistening with pomegranate seeds and jujubes. Icy herbal teas steeped with chrysanthemum and lotus leaves, cooled over hours in vessels buried in ice. And perhaps most intriguing, frozen tofu desserts, delicate in texture, subtly flavored, and served with syrups infused with ginger or osman thus. But these dishes weren't crafted merely for indulgence. Each one was a deliberate act of balance. A living expression of yin and yang, the ancient Chinese philosophy that governed everything from medicine to architecture to imperial rule. In this worldview, food was medicine, and temperature was power. Cold foods were thought to cool the blood, dispel internal heat, and quiet the body's fiery imbalances, especially important during the intense summers of the North China Plain. By serving chilled dishes, the emperor wasn't just feeding his guests, he was restoring harmony, reaffirming his role not just as ruler of the land, but as guardian of cosmic equilibrium. In his court, even a spoonful of shaved ice rippled with meaning. Because in the Qing Dynasty, cuisine wasn't just nourishment. It was a philosophy you could taste. And in the world of the Qing court, where every gesture was steeped in ritual and every detail whispered of authority, the experience of food went far beyond flavor. It wasn't just what you ate, it was how it was revealed. Presentation was a performance, a delicate ballet of elegance and symbolism designed to impress, to enchant, and above all, to affirm power. Icy dishes were not plunked casually on tables. They were unveiled like treasures, emerging from lacquered boxes, glossy black or vermilion red, inlaid with gold filigree, cloaked in mystery. Beneath their elegant lids, these boxes held concealed compartments lined with ice. Cold air curled around the dish, preserving its temperature until the very moment it met the lips of a royal guest. The effect was nothing short of magical. Imagine a sweltering summer afternoon in Beijing, and suddenly, a box is opened to reveal chilled pear soup or frozen lotus jelly, misting faintly as if kissed by clouds. That contrast, the heat outside and the frost within, wasn't accidental. It was intentional theater, designed to awe. But the spectacle didn't stop there. At the grandest of imperial banquets, carved ice sculptures graced the center of the feast like frozen deities. Towering dragons twisted skyward with translucent claws and flaring nostrils. Phoenixes stretched elegant wings mid-flight. Occasionally, mythical beasts of ancient lore, Qilin, Bixie, or Daotai emerged in crystalline form, each one a nod to the deep well of Chinese myth and imperial iconography. These sculptures weren't mere decoration. They were statements, manifestations of imperial identity. The dragon, symbol of the emperor himself, embodied celestial power and the mandate of heaven. The phoenix, tied to the empress, represented virtue, prosperity, and peace. Each glistening figure spoke of divine rule and the empire's cosmic destiny. To dine at such a table was to be reminded, constantly, that the emperor did not merely reign over men. He reigned over nature, over seasons, over art and spirit. And even ice bent to his will. And in the Qing imperial court, the artistry of cuisine extended far beyond the kitchen. Because when it came to food, the spectacle was just as important as the substance. In fact, you might say that the true flavor of a dish began not with the first bite, but with the way it arrived before you. It wasn't just about what you ate, it was about how it was presented. Each course was a ceremony in miniature, designed to astonish the senses and reaffirm the divine grandeur of the emperor's world. Dishes weren't merely placed on silver platters or handed over by servants. No, they arrived enshrined in exquisite lacquered boxes, polished to a mirror sheen, inlaid with delicate mother-of-pearl patterns and often sealed tight with golden clasps. But these weren't ordinary containers. Inside, hidden compartments of ice lined the base, an ingenious design that kept the food cool without revealing the secret behind its perfect temperature. As the lids were lifted, chilled air spilled out like a sigh of winter, and the dish would emerge, untouched by heat, glistening with freshness. It was as if the plate had just been plucked from a mountaintop shrine. And if that didn't impress, the centerpiece of the feast surely would. At the most opulent banquets, the dining hall itself became a stage for frozen wonder. Ice sculptures, carved by master artisans, rose from the center of the table like ethereal apparitions. Dragons coiled with outstretched claws, their scales catching candlelight. Phoenixes with icy plumes poised mid-flight. Even mythical beasts, guardians of legend, emerged in glistening, translucent form, silently watching over the meal. These sculptures weren't mere decoration. They were living symbols, cold, hard emblems of imperial authority and heavenly favor. The dragon, the very emblem of the emperor, reminded every guest of the sacred bloodline that ruled them. The phoenix, a sign of virtue and balance, echoed the elegance of the empress and the harmony of the dynasty. Each melting drop from these sculptures wasn't a flaw, it was a reminder. Even power this divine was fleeting, and yet in this moment, fully present. So when a guest lifted a spoon to their lips, they weren't just tasting a dessert. They were partaking in a carefully choreographed ritual of majesty, mythology, and mastery. Because in the Qing Dynasty, every frozen dish was a performance. So now, I'm curious if you were an imperial chef in 18th century China, standing inside those grand palace kitchens, surrounded by fragrant herbs, exotic spices, and priceless ice harvested from frozen rivers, what kind of icy masterpiece would you create to delight the emperor? Would it be a shimmering bowl of rose-infused shaved ice sprinkled with delicate lotus petals? Or maybe a delicate frozen tofu dessert, sweetened with honey and garnished with edible gold flakes that catch the light like a treasure? Could you imagine crafting an icy phoenix perched atop a fruit parfait, a symbol of renewal and grace? I want to hear your ideas, no matter how wild or imaginative. The palace kitchens thrived on creativity, after all. So leave your coolest, most inventive frozen treats in the comments below. Let's dream together about the flavors, textures, and stories that could have dazzled an emperor centuries ago. And if you're loving this journey through the chilling secrets of Qing Dynasty cuisine, don't forget to show some love. Hit that like button and let me know you want to explore more delicious stories from history. Your support keeps the stories alive and the flavors coming. Now, over to you, what would you serve the emperor? In Qing Dynasty cuisine, ice was never just about quenching thirst or providing relief from the summer heat. It carried a weight far greater, a profound symbolism that resonated through every frozen shard served in the imperial court. Ice was a testament to control over the relentless forces of nature, mastery over the relentless march of time, and a delicate grasp on the fleeting moments of beauty and pleasure in life. Think about it. In an era when nature's cycles dictated daily existence, to command ice was to command the seasons themselves. The emperor, by offering icy delicacies amid blazing heat, was asserting his divine mandate to bend the natural world to his will. It was an act of sovereignty, a quiet declaration that in his realm, even winter's chill could be summoned on demand. But the symbolism didn't end there. Every dish told a story, not just through its ingredients but through the layers of history and poetry it carried. Take, for instance, a bowl of chilled lychee soup. To the untrained eye, it might seem like a simple, sweet refreshment. Yet to those versed in imperial lore, it was a liquid poem, echoing romantic legends of emperors who dispatched swift horseback messengers bearing freshly picked lychees across vast distances to their beloved consorts. Each spoonful recalled tales of passion, longing, and the lengths taken to preserve beauty and love against time's relentless advance. In this way, Qing Dynasty frozen dishes became living stories, edible verses that bridged nature, power, and human emotion. They were more than food, they were symbols of a world where every bite carried meaning, and every chill whispered secrets of empire and eternity. Frozen plum sorbets were far more than a simple treat in the Qing Dynasty, they carried deep cultural significance that resonated with the very soul of Chinese philosophy. The plum blossom, which inspired these delicate sorbets, is celebrated as one of the four gentlemen in Chinese art and literature, a revered symbol of resilience, purity, and unwavering strength. Blooming defiantly in the coldest winters, the plum blossom stood for endurance in adversity, a metaphor that perfectly aligned with the imperial ideals of perseverance and moral virtue. When the emperor savored a frozen plum sorbet, he wasn't just enjoying a refreshing dessert, he was partaking in a ritual that preserved values. The endurance of tradition, the delicate balance of taste, and above all, the pride of an empire that saw itself as the guardian of culture and refinement. In the Forbidden City, the art of serving ice transcended mere refrigeration, it was a sacred act of preservation. Preservation of ancient techniques passed down through generations, preservation of culinary mastery that defined a civilization, and preservation of the very identity of imperial rule. What makes this achievement all the more astounding is the timeline. This exquisite mastery over ice and cold existed long before the principles of modern thermodynamics were ever formulated. Long before scientists would understand the laws of heat transfer, the Qing Dynasty's chefs and engineers had already unlocked the secrets of insulation, storage, and temperature control. Through intuition, observation, and centuries of trial and error, they created an empire of frost, one that defied time and technology. In that frozen artistry, we glimpse not just the culinary genius of the past, but a timeless lesson. True mastery comes not from technology alone, but from respect for nature, tradition, and the pursuit of excellence. Thank you for joining us on this captivating journey through the frozen halls and kitchens of the Qing Dynasty. If this story, rich with history, culture, and the delicate art of icy cuisine, sparked your curiosity and tantalized your imagination, don't forget to subscribe for more delicious deep dives into the fascinating world of food history. And while you're at it, tap that notification bell so you never miss a single bite of our upcoming explorations. Until we meet again, keep your mind open, your spirit adventurous, and above all, stay curious, stay inspired, and always respect the ice.